Hello there, my name's Card. I'm a history and social sciences researcher, and here on my YouTube page, over the last few months, I've taken to making short little audio essay videos about topics of particular interest to me. One of my earliest videos is, to date, one that happens to have received some of the most attention and positive feedback. However, it also just so happens to suffer from the fact I made it before I had even learnt what little basics about audio editing I do now. So the recording quality is admittedly pretty poor. As much as I would prefer not to recycle ideas, on this one-off occasion, I felt that it would be worthwhile to re-record that older video, just so at the very least, a version of it that sounds decent exists somewhere. So, without further ado, please enjoy this fully remade version of Sometimes Pyres Are Justified. While the infamous 1690s witch trials of colonial Massachusetts ultimately resulted in the unjust deaths of at least 25 guiltless people, and mostly by hanging, not actual immolation incidentally, I would like to put forward the notion that actually there were at least two young women involved who did deserve to be burned to death for what they did, and that it's a shame that ultimately neither was actually passed down a judgment during the course of the proceedings. Those two women would be Betty Paris and Abigail Williams, both of whom were at the very center of the trials from the beginning, but whose names may not be widely known by the average person, even though the massive hysteria they whipped up has become an indelible part of popular history, and what many people think of when they first recall what they may have learnt about America's Pilgrim Fathers during high school. The reason these two young women were involved with the witch hunts and the subsequent trials from the very beginning is that they were the two individuals who decided to fabricate the story that they'd been hexed by the Paris family's slave woman, Tituba. The cruel practical joke that the two cooked up between themselves in order to harass one of the already most heavily suffering persons in their Puritan settlement, an enslaved, illiterate native South American woman, ended up getting dozens of innocent people executed when the pair decided to stick with their complete lie rather than face any punishment or personal consequences by admitting they'd made the whole thing up. Just to reiterate, the Salem witch trials didn't just pop up overnight without cause. A lot of people, if asked about them today, seem to just assume it was those wacky 17th century Christian fundamentalists overreacting as usual, or something to that effect. But let's not forget that the reason this whole thing became a serious criminal investigation was because a group of young, well-to-do white women from the town's most prominent families each coordinated knowingly false testimony against the settlement's poorest and most marginalized resident, and for nothing more than their own amusement. If today, in the year of our Lord 2023, a pair of educated, wealthy young white women living in America all simultaneously accused just about anyone else of something even as vague as leading them away with small evils and dark sorceries in the night, the person they targeted would be demonized in the press and in the eyes of the general public forever. I'd even personally advocate that, broadly speaking, and considering the social wind behind the Me Too movement, people making fairly believable claims of injustices perpetrated against them should at least have their accusations heard openly and in good faith. But as I see it, abusing that trust to knowingly level serious accusations of a completely non-existent crime against someone, and no less a person here like a literal slave woman in a Puritan colony, who sure as hell won't have her side of the story listened to, is one of the most definitionally evil acts imaginable. The witch trials certainly weren't just some little joke to the 19 innocent men and women that Paris and Williams' lie eventually implicated, nor to the 5 who died in jail while awaiting sentencing, or to the one man, Giles Corey, who was infamously crushed and starved to death over a period of 3 days because he refused to recognize the legitimacy of the accusations against him. The historical record shows that Abigail Williams went on to enjoy a quiet family life after the trial hysteria died down, and Betty Pyres lived to a ripe old age of 77 and had plenty of children of her own. Both much better than any of their victims got, or what either of them actually deserved for causing so much pain for 25 other families. I'm not even one to necessarily advocate for the death penalty, usually, but it's not hard to think that in a just world, both of those evil women would have gotten the pyre for what they did. Thanks for listening. Once again, my name's Card. This has been Card Posting. I hope you got something worthwhile out of this very special, re-recorded little spiel. Until next time, bye for now, and have a lovely day.